my friend, it's Pat Sloan here. Today, before we do anything, let us just bask in the glory of clear countertops. Yes, my friend. Yesterday when I did the video, I needed space over there to work and I had too much stuff going on. And so I put everything in the dining room, which is my auxiliary business area for right now. Living in a small home, running a business just means you have to sacrifice some of your spaces to the business. So the dining room is my second room in the house. I only have the two rooms and to keep my stuff in. There's some stuff in my bedroom closet too for work, but you know, hey, you got to do what you got to do. So anyway, I cleared that off and it just feels so nice. I love my things and I love little knickknacks and all that, but I also love a nice clear surface. I'd really like to clear more of this one off, maybe store the Jubilant, maybe move those boxes to another spot. We will see what happens. But for this I am excited because it makes it easier for me to get to my AccuQuilt and open it up and use it because I don't have projects that I'm working on sitting there. So all of it has been good. It was a good day yesterday to do that video where I needed the space and cleared it all off. So I don't know if you have that same situation yourself, if you love open space, just leave me a comment. Plus, my design wall is pretty clear. I just have the block from the Sew Sampler up there because I need to work on that because I just love it. It's so darn cute. Hey, when your bestie lends you her awesome, amazing quilt, you try to keep it for as long as you can. But Wendy needs it back. So I will be packing it up and sending it off to her. And we're going to talk about, while I have it, I lost track there, my brain. So while I have her quilt, what we're going to do in a few minutes is talk about how to pull fabric to do a scrappy quilt like Wendy did. I'm going to talk about that, talk about scrappy quilts in general, and just sort of dive into some fabric thoughts. And I'll get some fabric out, and I'll kind of audition and show you a little bit about that. So first, though, I want to say thank you to everybody for all the really sweet notes about the video yesterday where I showed you 3 different ways to make triangles. There are a lot more work to do those type of videos, a lot of prep, a lot of making little samples, a lot of different camera work. I don't have the kind of room, being that it is a vaulted ceiling. I can't hang cameras off of my ceiling. So all of that is just my camera, just a little bit more challenging for me and really not fun. They're not fun to do when I can't get the angles I want and have to struggle and have to move everything and just a lot of rigmarole. So I don't tend to do those as often because it's just not conducive. Plus, it's really not what I'm about here on the channel. If you've been with me for a while, you'll realize that this channel, my videos are sort of built around what I do on a day-to-day basis, and I throw little tips in as we're doing quilt-alongs, as I'm sewing things, as we're working on stuff, but it's not the main focus. I am not a tutorial website. I am not here to teach every single day. It would be impossible. I'd have to have staff to make teaching tutorials every day, and it's really not what I want to do. That's not what I want to do. I spent 20 years teaching on the road. That was where I did my teaching. And I will have those occasionally, and I will have tips within videos, but the core of my videos are going to be more the day-to-day life of a quilt maker, what I enjoy quilting, what I see, what I find, what you might like. It is just sort of that side, and a lot about fabric and color placement. Those are the things that excite me to talk about and interest me to talk about. So I hope that is exciting for you. I know that there's a large group of you that are hanging out here, and I appreciate every single one of you. And I hope if you have not subscribed yet, you will do that. We're trying to get, I am trying to get to 100,000 subscribers on YouTube, and we are so close. We are just over 3,000 people need to still subscribe, which is free. It's a free subscription, so it doesn't hurt you at all to subscribe. You just click it, and then I will give away a quilt. And when we hit the next sort of milestone here, I'll bring the quilt out again. But today we're going to be talking about scraps, and I'm going to put that quilt up. But before that, on the calendar, I have Summer Memories book. And I have not done any more than I did last time because, like I said, daily videos are interesting because daily videos mean I have to be sewing something when I'm not filming, or have days when there's nothing being shown that got sewn. You know, like I can't make things fast enough. Bobby, our ambassador, does help me with some things, but there's still kind of a lot going on. So some days, and this is one of them that is my slower project, so I'm not trying to meet a goal every week of having a section done, even though I would like to. But if I don't, this is the one that slides. This is the one that won't get sewn, but I have it already. And I didn't even cut it yet, but I have the next block of 4 baskets ready. And I want to show you what I did. I did a thing. I thought, Amy Smart's Portsmouth fabric that I showed you the other day, this sort of nautical fabric, and I showed you I want to do a Oh My Stars with it, and I bought the blue scenery fabric. Well, she also had it in white with blue with little pops of pinky red. Do you know where I'm going with this, right? You know where I'm going. This is going to be the backing for my baskets. What do you think? Say yes, say yes, say yes. Oh my goodness. Okay, so this one's been really popular because I had to go hunt on Etsy for it, and I don't even know if I bought enough because I didn't measure. So whatever it is, I will put a border around it for the backing to make it work. But it's so pretty. It's so pretty. It must have been super popular because it is not easy to find right now. So there you go. That is my summer memories. So let's get Wendy's quilt back up here. We'll take some close look at it, and then we'll do a little scrappy fabric talk. Here it is. Wendy's quilt again. Wendy Sheppard of Ivory Spring. She is my very good friend, and we've collaborated on many projects, this being one of the biggest. It is a fundraiser for the Virginia Quilt Museum. It's the Harrisonburg Quilt, and it is just glorious. Hers is done very scrappy like the original quilt. Let me just pop that up here so you can see it. Let me take the other camera, and then we'll just go close for a little bit, and then we're going to pop over to the other side of the table and talk about how do you pull fabrics in order to make a quilt like this that is scrappy and has some cohesiveness, or lots of cohesiveness. It's amazing. But how do you accomplish that when you're doing your fabric pull? But first, let's look up close. There are loads of different fabrics in here. And I'm just going to pick a block and talk about it, because what Wendy did, and she has all the numbers and she sent them to me, and then of course I don't think I wrote them down and placed them in the right place, so I can't find them. She's a numbers person with a science background. I am not a numbers person. Okay, so anyways, she used different fabrics everywhere. Like every piece of this block is different fabrics. And that took a lot of different fabrics. And she has variety. This is kind of a bright blue, and this is a very dusty teal. Like it's a dark teal. It's not even, it's got that greeny tint to it. She has lights with lots of background, but then if you look over here, and this is one of our friends sent me a piece of this fabric, there's a navy in the center, navy fabric in the center. And there's a light blue one in the center. So when I pull back, just look at the centers. Just the centers. Go ahead. I'll wait. Can you see? Yeah, see? She did a lot of navy, but popped in other things here and there. These medium blues and even that white base. Look at this one. Isn't that beautiful? But look at all the different fabrics. Okay, we're going to go to the other side of the table. So what we're going to do is I'm going to do fabric pulls. I'm going to take you from one level and expand you out for a scrappy quilt, starting with super basic and then adding, changing, adding until you get a collection that is much more like what Wendy has. And I know that this can be a little daunting for people who have not done this type of quilt making before. You might work with just a few fabrics for your quilts, maybe 3 or 5. You might work with very good fabrics that are more tonal, that don't have a lot of pattern in them. It might be a little hard for you to visualize doing a quilt with those fabrics, even though you see it and you love it. And sometimes it's hard to translate that to your own work. And so I have worked with people for over 20 years on fabric and color selection. That is what a core part of my workshops were when I was on the road, was all about the fabric. We did some other things too, but that was a key thing that I focused on, because it is something that I think a lot of us can expand out what we're doing and have more fun with the fabric that we own or that we want to buy. So let's take a look at what I have here. We're going to start with looking at some fabric that is, I think, really basic navy and white. If you're going to do what you might think is a scrappy quilt and using navy and white, I think a lot of people will gravitate to this first, because you're using some very tonal creams here, or whites. I'll call them white and navy, and they have small pattern. They kind of work together. This one's a tad creamier, but some people might even make these all be the same tone. They couldn't be different tone. And then same thing with the blue. Is that with the navy, there are pieces of fabric here that all have this deep navy color, and they are in a smallish scale to a little bit bigger. No other shades of color in here, no other colors in here, no green, no pops of yellow or red. And this would make a spectacular scrappy quilt. It wouldn't have a lot of fabrics, but you could add more of this, you could add more that look like that, and it would still be a spectacular quilt. It's not going to look like Wendy's. Because hers has a much different level of fabric incorporated into it. So what we're going to do is I'm going to show you a way that you can maybe approach doing that via a fabric bundle as your starter. You want to start with that. So let me just move this over here 1 second, because I want to show you this Dwell fabric line that I pulled the other day, because it has, look at this, it has navy, it has medium blues, and it has white based fabrics. It also has some others that I would not use. The greens, the things with red, because we're doing a blue and white, so we don't need any red. The pinks, and then these whites all have a lot more pattern. A lot of red. This reads very red, has a lot of red. This one has pops of green, and we just don't need those. If you have other fabric, you could incorporate them. That would be totally fine, but I think you can do better to get the same look without bringing in other colors. So if we look at the navy pile here, what I'm going to do is bring back these navies, and we're going to just add these pops. This is a little pop of red. Now, like Wendy's has a few of them with that little bit of extra color. This has a little bit of a green and a lighter blue, but it still reads very, very blue. Then there's, of course, these are what I call the safe zone, because they're very much like we're already working with, although this one has a lot more white. It leans towards this, but even more so. And then here's one with the little pops of red. This has a different scale with some white in it, and then again with more white. So now if we look at this mix of fabrics, you definitely have expanded how scrappy this is. And the look of your quilt will be very different with this versus this. See how, even if you took that out, look at the difference. See, I added this one in, But look how very tonal, very navy. But you start putting all these in, and right away it like sparks it up and makes it a much different kind of quilt. Okay, so that is the navy. Now her quilt also has teals and blues, so if you're starting with a fabric line that has like the colors that you're looking to do and you're going to be adding to them, this line is cool for that because it has the medium blues. So there she has medium blues in her quilt. So you've got a ton of medium blues here, and this one has a little bit of other pattern, little pops of red. And you could decide not to use those if you don't want to have any chance of red, or depending on the size of your blocks, you could cut from areas that don't have any red. So you can get that, which only has a little bit of green, which isn't quite as much of a pop, you know, so you're not really getting that visual. All right, so that is pulling in blues. Now from here, I would go and find some other blues. Now I've got a big tub of navy right here. This is a group of navy fabrics, and they really read, you know, pretty much navy, navy, navy. So like here's something that's got, whoops, you can't see that. Here's something that's got some peach in it. And so that might be a little piece of that here or there. Wendy did a lot of this where she brought in things that had a little bit different feel. This one has a much more muted navy, and then this is kind of a off-white or gray feel in there, which gives something totally different. All right, so let's take a look at the lights now. So we'll do basically the same thing with the light, with the white, off-white, cream. So we have the 3 starters. And then now I will take the prints from the Dwell fabric line, which have some large scale florals. And these will all have a bit more of a white, but it's not as white as this, and it's not down as yellow as that. And so you can see all the different scales. Now this has a lot of navy, and so you might fussy cut just from a smaller piece like that, or if you wanted more, you know, navy, you could do that. This one had a little bit of green. You could decide whether you wanted that or not. Some stripes, and the floral in the more medium blue, different scales of prints. And so here, now we have, and then here's a gray. So I don't know if let's just put the gray to the side. We're not going to deal with gray. And then just a tonal, like reads solid, it's a white on white. And then here's, I think this little bit of gray is fine. So here, where's our originals? All right, so there would be a pull of all of these colors, and it looks, look at that. So that looks much more interesting, has many more prints. It's still, in my opinion, a little bit safe. So let's spiff that up a little bit. So I'm going to put a few of these to the side so that you can just kind of see the difference. Okay, so put these over here. So what if we add in some other things which have images you can see, like scissors? What about the owl? Like, that is incredible, right? Wendy should have had a piece of this for hers. The owl. And then I've got pineapples. So, and if you really don't want the other colors, you can cut around something like that because they're blue pineapples. Here's, we got, this is cream, and it has a really large scale. Here's some little chicks. And so when you add, and then the matte fabric. This is what I used for the globe on the library quilt. So there's the matte fabric. So when you add these all in, all of a sudden you have much, much more going on that makes it so interesting for a scrappy quilt. So you would take this group, let me move this. You would take them and take all of these navies over here. Let's see if we can get them all in. Okay, yeah, so we get all of these navies and blues, and she even went a couple of teal, pops of teal, like the original quilt had, some teal in it. So there. So this would be how you could build a palette to start working with for a scrappy quilt like Wendy's. Let's go ahead and take a look at hers up close again. Now that we talked about this a little bit, I'm going to point out a few things, and hopefully you're going to just they're going to make sense. You're going to see how that works, because she did such a brilliant job. There is not just one cream color she has. Let's start here. This is a very tan color background. Popped up right here, very cream, very light, almost white based. This is practically white based with the elephants, but then you'll see, like, so that's how we talked about the lights, the different shading. They can be all different shadings. Here's down more into the creams again, you know, more tanny, like this is, again, has a much more tan to it. And so then let's talk about actually within one block. This is white, this is taupe. There's kind of the same taupe color. Here's like a cream, and there's prints with a navy on base, These have none. Here's navy on base. So, you know, just variety. Here's a light, oh, there's some of my birdsong. Look at that. And dark navy, teal. So it's a huge variety of print. Oh, look at the rabbit. Look. A huge variety of prints for each block. Now, when we have this at the Virginia Quilt Museum on September 16th and you come and visit and meet us, you can look at this up close yourself. Then again, it will be exhibited in 2024 when we have the full exhibit, and it'll be there for quite a while at that point. Look at this shade of blue. Isn't that cool? All right. This is so exciting. I'm so happy that you love it as much as I do. This has been very fun to have Wendy Sheppard's quilt here, and on Best Friends Day, I have really enjoyed being able to share her quilt with you again. Now, if you have a quilt you made for your best friend, share it at our group today, Quilt Along with Pat Sloan at Facebook. We would all love to see that quilt from you. So, okay, my friend, I love you. Mwah. Thank you for being here in the Sloan Zone. I will see you online.